Good night, everyone. Tonight, God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Irma Jill Spitzer. I'm going to give you a word on tonight. And lately I've been talking about stones. I've been talking about hardship. I've been talking about all that. So if anyone's been in a stone, you know, and this is at the end of your stone. You are more than a conqueror. So this story gonna come from Romans chapter 8, verse 31 through 39. To become a conqueror, you know, we must carry the cross to be more than a conqueror. Now we know that Jesus experienced pain and suffering, before he departed from this earth. That's why Paul said we have to go through the hard time. Remember I put that out the other day. Paul the tools for hardship. You know, so he said we have to go through the hard time. And we can't go around it. I mean, we try, we can try, but we can't go around. No matter how good you are, how good we are, we gonna go through the hard time. Now we have to achieve victory, through the pain and suffering. Because a lot of time, when you're in pain and suffering, you're in losses and all kind of stuff is coming at you. God expects for us to keep on moving because He's still working and moving in all the chaos. All the chaos is going on, and we woo woo woo, and God is still moving on our behalf. Now, Jesus conquered his victory, through his pain. He rise up on the third day. We also can carry that cross, because Jesus has died for all of us. And that's why we can't even go around the halls. And Jesus ain't go around it. He will walk through his mission, his perfect, all purpose, all the way to the end. So what then shall we say in a response, to these things? If God is for us, who can come against us? Now Paul has stated that God embraced us in his love rather than being against us. So God is for us, rather than um taking taken from us, he give all of us, and rather than condemning us, to justify, he justify us. Now even though, we face trials and tribulation, we gonna face trials and tribulation, and suffering, and remain. We have to remain that God is with us and for us. It sometimes it may be hard to believe. So much chaos. Look at Joe. Joe had everything ripped away from him. He didn't understand why all this. They were just laughing, enjoying a perfect life. And then all of a sudden things can just happen. But guess what? God can also all of a sudden, can reverse everything. But we have to remain in Him. We have to keep on praying. I had, lately I've been putting out tools, for hardship, prayer. I've been putting all that out. There is good tools to take on for anyone is in that stone. I'm very still in that stone and very experienced on tools of trying to get to someone else. Now, even though we may face trials and tribulation and suffering, just remain that God is with us. You have to remain that God is with us and for us. Now, He who did not spare His own Son, but give Him up for us all, how we had not also along with Him. Grace is to give us all things. He gives all things. By Adam and Eve mess up at the beginning, God had to come up with something with sin, and He thought of His Son, someone that gave His only Son to save all of us. So Paul remained, Paul remind us that God is for us. He proven that it's by sending Jesus as our substitute for sin. Who would bring any charges against those who God had chosen? It is God who justifies. So God had chosen, us, and it is He Himself that make us righteous. Satan is busy, going before God with a list, and all he do is walk up and down, and see who he gonna mess with, So, with accusation, to condemn us, day by day, night by night, but soon the accuser will be thrown down. Eventually, you know, the accuser will be thrown down. A man also, you know, can charge, even condemn us, but a man can never separate us from God. Nobody can separate us from God but ourselves. You know, but ourselves. Who then is the one who condemned? No one. Christ Jesus, who died more than that. Now, who was raised, to life, is at the right hand of God and is also interceding for us. Now he died for us, for the sin, but he rise up on the third day. Now that same man that died and raised up on the third day is the same man on God's right hand side interceding for us. When we praying and stuff, Jesus is helping God out on the right hand side, interceding for us in our prayers. So Paul said that Jesus is interceding for us in heaven. Now God had removed our sin through his son. But Jesus, our vanity, sit at God's right hand to present our case. So it's like you're in court and you give all your stuff to your lawyer, and your lawyer represent that to your job. And that's the same thing Jesus do. Represent our case to God. God is in control of everything. But he always said we gotta go through Jesus. So who should separate us from the love of Christ? Should trouble, or hardship, or persecution, or infirmity, or nakedness, or danger, or sword. However, everyone who has a personal relationship with the Lord, can be confident that his love never fails. We saw that, how Jesus loved his disciple. He loved everyone, no matter who you are. Jesus' love never had failed. Romans 8:35, teaches that it is impossible for the believer to separate from Christ and his love, for us. So as it is written, for your sake, we face death all day long. He ain't lying by that. Most of us fighting every day for our life. It's like when you wake up in the morning, it's a blessing. It's a blessing to be alive. Some of us is going through so much. We be raised to see morning, daylight. So for we are considered as sheep to be slaughtered. And we talk about God's chosen people, his righteous people. We're talking about those who the devil walk up and down to try to find. Who he tried to find. He picked Job. No, he didn't pick Job. He's God asked him what he doing. I'm trying to seek something. He just walk up and down and see who he gonna find. So it's like every day we walking dead. Consider as sheep being slaughtered. That's what that means. So on this, earth, we would struggle, deal with hardship, circumstances. Even people may face persecution for generations, but Paul wants us to have the right perspective, on circumstances of the dead alive. And that can be hard. That can be hard. We really not supposed to concentrate on our circumstance, you know. But I'm working on it, and I don't know if anybody else. I be trying to take in my own tools that I be trying to give to y'all. You know, we not supposed to concentrate on our circumstance. Just like Paul said, we got to get the right perspective on our circumstance, because in the mix of all our chaos, God is still working, and God expects for us to still be working. That's just like me. I'm going through so much. I'm dealing with all different kind of situations right now, and still trying to maintain vibration, energy. You know, I'm still trying to visualize, meditate. I'm still trying to do all that and deal with everything else. And still work. So we have to still squeeze God in our schedule, because God supposed to still be our number one, in our life, really above our circumstances, on our daily lives. So Paul also let us know to be ready for trouble. Now, who be ready for trouble? But Paul said, be ready for the trouble. Don't just and see Joe. He wasn't ready for. They were living a normal, perfect life, and all of a sudden, devil came. He go to devil. But Paul said, get ready for the trouble. On this side of eternity, that we should not be surprised. You know, it's saying, I ain't gonna lie. When I first got into all this, and first got into in the spiritual realm, you know, I'm thinking it was gonna be the easy thing. It caught me by surprise. But it said, don't be surprised. Just get ready for the trouble. Don't be surprised when it comes. Also, Paul letting us know that he is ready to be killed. Because see, when Jesus left, they had to take over. And things just been so hard for them. They was gonna come after them. They got Jesus out the way, but Jesus' disciple was still here. Which they thought they got Jesus out the way. Jesus rise up and still living. And disciples had it so hard on earth, but Jesus told them that. Get ready. Because they really had it hard. When Jesus had left. They said, get ready to be killed, slaughtered. Like the sheep for Christ's sake. If there was it come to. Now see, they were saying they ain't mind, cause they said we doing it for Christ's sake. They loved Jesus. They was his disciples. They said whatever needs to be done, they were gonna do it. If it means them getting slaughtered, they said it had to be done. They were not gonna stop. They were gonna keep on serving just like Jesus told them to. So no, and all these things, we are more than a conqueror. And you could go through all these things that I just talked about. You are more than a conqueror. More than a conqueror. Through him that love us. From every tribulation, distress, persecution, danger, sword, winning, many, in our lives, that we are the one who do it. And you have to realize, like every day, you're a winner. Anytime you beat a trial and you still wake up in the morning, every day you are winning. But just like Paul said, he also getting ready to be killed. Because they always were after Jesus' disciples, after Jesus left. Every time you look around, they were throwing him in jail. If it wasn't Peter, it was Paul. Paul and Silas. They was just kept on trying to find something on Jesus' disciples. So do the conquering. Indeed, we are more than a conqueror. Our troubles and persecutions fail to destroy our faith. That's one thing. You can stand on your trials and tribulation, your pain and your suffering, and not let your faith get destroyed. You are more than a conqueror. You know, you keep on standing. You keep on standing. Many people like, oh, you still here? Oh yeah, where I'm going at? You have to you got to go through it all. Jesus went through it all. Being denied, being rejected, thrown, uh, thrown in prison, but they had to let him go because it wasn't his time yet. Putting him on a cross, throwing him down. He went through it all. And a lot of time I be feeling like, you know, all the pain that Jesus had went through. But we can never compare the pain that Jesus went through. We might go through so much hard time, and we might think it's compared to Jesus, but it's not. That pain Jesus went through, we can't compare our pain to his. So there is no denying that our trials will sometimes place us under tremendous stress. And we know that. You know that. But a lot of us, we're not perfect. You might get stressed. You might get down. You might get disappointed. But guess what? Don't stay in that state of mind. You know, I they say it's okay to get emotion. It's okay to get emotion. It's okay for you to be depressed a little bit. But guess what? You cannot stay in that mode. You know, I may cry. I might get emotional when something happened. But guess what? A couple of hours later, I'm behind this desk and act like ain't nothing happened. Because you have to find your peace. When I'm putting my material together, that's my peace. You know, when I'm listening to that music and it's talking about how great God is, a mighty God that we have, all that is peace. You got to find your peace. It's okay for you to moan. It's okay for you to cry. It's not okay to be having anxiety and stress, but long as you don't stay in that mode. I cried many days. But guess what? I don't stay in that mode. Next thing you know, a couple of hours later, I'm behind this desk working like nothing happened. Dry up them tears, and I start working. You want to work and keep busy. Don't stay in the bed. Don't stay in a corner, just crying your tears out. I ain't gonna never tell nobody don't cry. Somebody said stop crying. So I have no. It's okay for you to cry. It's okay for you to have emotion, but you can't stay there in that mode set. You got to work and keep busy. Working for the Lord, keep busy. So through it all, the valley or the shadow of death. But in those trials, and through the valley, we should be more than a conqueror. You got to go through that valley. You got to go through that valley to be more than a conqueror. You can't just suffer a little pain a couple hours in your stone, and you've been in the stone for what, for 2 or 3 months, and you say you're more than a conqueror. No, you got to be in that stone. Jesus was in his mission for years. I've been in my storm for a couple of years now. And been through everything. Been through all kind of mountains. All kind of mountains. You got to go through it all. You got to go through that fire. But before you can say you're more than a conqueror. So for I am convinced, that neither death, nor life, no demon, neither the present, nor the future, nor the power, should destroy your faith. You got your faith might wait. You know, I'm not perfect. That's why the mistakes that I make, I'm able to collect these tools for someone else to use. You know, when you mess up, you know, it's where you can correct it, where you can help someone else. You know, so for I am convinced that neither none of these things, you know, should break your faith in God. You know, you may wait. Faith may wait. You might start losing your hope. You know, but we have to put it back on check. You know, you have to put it in check. You know, we all have to remember. I'm talking to myself too. I trust me. I listen to my own stuff and get healing from my own stuff. You know, when your stuff is good like that, when you can get healing and listen to your own stuff like that, you know it's healing. You know someone else can be healing from the words. You know, so we'll be able to separate. You know, we'll be able to separate us from the love of God. You know, that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. Who can separate us? You know, the only person can separate us from the love of Jesus is ourselves. You know, it's ourselves. You know, not the power of unseen. You know, the forces of evil. You know, in the universe, forces such as Satan and his demons. You know, as a believer, you know, who have Jesus' power available to us. You know, we will experience great victory. You know, both now and eternity. You know, so when we go through our tribulation, when we go through our tribulation, you know, we should think about what Jesus went through on that cross. You know, we should think about what he went through on that cross. You know, when we going through our hard time, our tribulation, you know, we ought to think about what he going through. You know I do all the time. You know, because sometimes our tribulation, pain and suffering can be so severe. You know, you can't help but to think about what Jesus went through. You know, man, and what Jesus went through is way more than what pain that we going through. And we be thinking ours is severe. You know, but we have to think about what he really went through with the nails through his hands on that tree. You know, our pain could never compare to his. So when we go through our hard time, tribulation, and everything else, and we just share with tears and on our knees because of what we going through, it's just so hard. That will make us. That should make you want to think about what Jesus went through. You know, it will be overwhelming victory that God give, you know, to the believer through Christ. You know, all believers of eternity. You know, because of their relationship with Jesus Christ, God allowed, you know, nothing to separate us from his love. You know, sometimes it may seem like our trials had no ending. It may seem like your trials, it seems like it have no ending, you know, but we will keep on fighting. We will keep on holding on. And we will keep on believing that God have a plan for us and that this too should come to pass. Now, we have to keep our faith. We have to keep our hope. You got to keep your hope alive. Your hope is something that you wish for, that you cannot see, but you wish for it, you know, to come to pass. You know, a lot of time, and that can help by visualizing your goals, visualizing your future. You know, that's what keep me going, because trust me, your faith gonna fade away, especially you in a long storm. Your hope you might lose your hope, you know, but you got to keep holding on. You got to keep visualizing and keep your hope alive. And you got to keep your faith. You got to have a strong faith to stay in that storm. So we will continue carrying that cross. You know, the same cross that Jesus carried, knowing that Jesus who died for us and raised, to life is now on God's right hand side, interceding for us. So through all this hard time, that we going through on this earth, you know, we are more than a conqueror. We are more than a conqueror in Jesus Christ who carried that cross. You know, now this is a story of more than a conqueror. You can't just say you're more than a conqueror. You got to go through the fire. You got to go through that valley. You got to climb that mountain. You got to go through so much stuff to call yourself more than a conqueror. You got to carry that cross that Jesus went through. Then you more than a conqueror. It is hard. It is hard. You got to keep holding on. You got to keep holding on. You got to keep your strong faith. Strong faith. And you got to keep your hope alive. And the next thing, you got to keep God first. And you got to keep God in our life. In your storm. So that's a story of more than a conqueror. More than a conqueror, meaning you got to go through that valley. You got to go through that valley. So that's all I have for you tonight. Y'all have a blessed and safe night, and I see y'all in the next video.